Hyaku Private Academy is one of Japan's most prestigious schools where only the rich can enter. However, unlike normal schools, this one is run entirely by the student council and possesses a frightening hierarchy determined by gambling. The best gamblers enjoy popularity, money, and authority, while those in debt are deemed pets and servants to the student body. Yumeko Jibami, a mysterious second-year transfer student, arrives and is introduced to the school by Ryota Suzui, a student who is now a pet after having lost a gamble to Mary Satome, their class's best gambler. Mary challenges Yumeko to a modified rock-paper-scissors game, Jankenpan. Although Yumeko loses, she requests a final bet worth 10 million yen in cash, and she reveals how Mary had manipulated their classmates' votes to allow her to determine Yumeko's cards. As such, Yumeko mocks Mary for giving away her methods and wins the game, placing Mary into debt. Yumeko then gifts Ryota some of her winnings as thanks for adding to the thrill of the game, and she starts considering him as her friend. Following her loss, Mary becomes a pet. Meanwhile, Yumeko is challenged to a double concentration game by Itsuki Sumeraji, the daughter of the CEO of Japan's top toy company and a first-year member of the student council, famed for having never lost at a card game before. For this gamble, Itsuki uses 2 decks of cards made by her father's company and wins 20 million yen from Yumeko in a close match. Despite Yumeko not having enough money, Itsuki decides to accept her request for a second round under the condition that if Yumeko loses, Itsuki can have her fingernails and toenails removed to add to her extensive nail collection. As such, Itsuki deals from the same 2 decks, confident that her cheating style of using heat-activated patterns in the cards will help her win again. However, Yumeko reveals to have picked up on her scheme and used her intellect to memorize the cards, winning the game and remarking that Itsuki would have won had she used a new deck. Afterwards, Yumeko is invited to the Traditional Culture Research Society's clubroom, just in time to witness Mary lose a high-stakes bet, adding another 40 million yen to her debt. Yuriko Mishinotoen, Mary's opponent, a student council member and president of the culture club, challenges Yumeko to the life or death game. After the first game ends in a draw, Yumeko deduces that Yuriko has been cheating by having the dealer wear magnets on her hand to affect the movement of the swords. Just as Yuriko becomes panicked over the thought of potentially losing over 2 billion yen, student council members, including council president Karari Momobami, step in to observe the game. Yuriko wins, which Yumeko suspects may have been the result of an elaborate cheating method the student council used for their game by heading to the room underneath and using magnets to prevent her from winning. Now 310 million yen in debt, Yumeko ends up being classed as a pet as well. The next day, Ryota prepares 1 million yen for Yumeko to get back on her feet during her next gamble, to which she rejects politely. She reveals that the student council has yet to collect debts from her, as she instead was issued a life contract form by the student council. Meanwhile, Mary is upset that she has also received a life contract form which dictate their entire futures, including which career they will have, who they will marry, and even how many children they will have if they do not clear their debts. On the way to class, Ryota and Yumeko are confronted by Jun and his friends, where Kiwatari ends up demanding that she takes off her clothes. Ryota rushes to help her, but is stopped by his friends. But before Jun can take action, Midari of the Student Council Beautification Committee steps in. However, she suddenly whips out a revolver and points at him, recounting that there is 1 bullet in the chamber, and they should engage in a gamble. Disturbed, Jun and his friends leave, and Ryota rushes to Yumeko's side, checking in on her, but Yumeko is still as cheerful as ever. Shaken by the earlier events, Ryota is determined to pull Yumeko out of the house pet status and offers to find her a chance to gamble. He notices the papers issued out by the student council in her hand, and she explains that the great debt repayment exercise is happening soon. With the increasing numbers of pets, the student council announces the debt exchange game, in which groups of 4 students play a game of 2-card Indian poker to try and exchange their debts, with the winner losing their debt completely and even standing a chance to win money. Yumeko and Mary end up in the same group with Jun, a delinquent male student, and another pet named Nanami Tsubomi. Despite Jun not having any debts, he enters a relatively small 10 million yen debt to use the game to make a profit. Jun appears to deduce that Yumeko and Mary are working together, only to wind up landing into a bluff play by Mary. Jun is put under pressure as Yumeko and Mary deduce he is forcing Nanami to cheat for him. With the game now a battle of bluffs, Jun is desperate as he stands to obtain a large debt if he doesn't end up first. He manages to move up but becomes panicked when Nanami gets a chance to overtake him and tries to coerce her into folding. However, Yumeko convinces Nanami to stand up for herself, and as such, Nanami rebels against Jun's orders. In the end, Mary ends up first place while Jun ends up last, as it is revealed that Yumeko and Mary had switched the debts they had with each other, making Yumeko's of least value instead. As a result, Jun ends up with Yumeko's 310 million debt. Yumeko obtains Mary's 50 million debt, and Mary's debt is cleared, while Nanami is left with the same debt she started with, but now equipped with a new sense of freedom and self-esteem. Yumeko also asked that now that they had a moment together, was she able to call Mary her friend, to which Mary said yes, and Yumeko hugged her once more. Even though Yumeko now has an immense amount of funds, it's revealed she still has not paid her debt, making the student council conclude that she wants to challenge Kakegurui to a match. Later that day, Yumeko goes to Ryota relieved that class is over, saying that she was having a hard time concentrating. Knowing that he won't be able to convince her otherwise, Ryota unwillingly decides to take Yumeko to the student council room, but they get interrupted on the way there. Midari, our deranged student council member, challenges Yumeko to a guessing game. The winner of each round gets to point one of two revolvers at the loser and pull the trigger, with neither knowing which of the gun's 6 chambers contain a bullet. Despite the possibility of losing her life, Yumeko agrees, but only under the conditions that the game only lasts 3 rounds. Ryota must be the dealer and the loser must pay 1 billion yen. Midari adds that should the winner miss her shot on purpose, the loser can fire a shot in return. As such, Midari fully loads her gun and scores higher in the first round. Yumeko then warns her that pulling the trigger is a bad idea, but Midari ignores her. Midari doesn't hesitate to shoot, but the gun turns out to be Yumeko's, and it is fortunately unloaded. Midari then reveals that gambling with money makes her feel nothing, so she poked her own left eye out as payment for losing against the council president. Thus, she realized she only likes gambling when the risk is pain or death. Regardless, in the second round, Yumeko correctly matches every card as Ryota simply uses her card order from round 1. In the final round, Midari puts Ryota under pressure by reversing the screen and giving him 10 seconds, so he heals the cards in the same order again. Having figured out the council is cheating, Ryota is right-handed but was somehow dealing with his left. Yumeko loads 2 bullets. As Midari wants to be shot, she aims to get no matches, knowing that with a full match, Yumeko has to pull the trigger 5 times, guaranteeing at least 1 shot. However, Yumeko ruins her plan by getting no matches as well, resulting in a draw. Yumeko then finds playing with no risk boring and despises Midari for it. Defeated, Midari begs Yumeko to shoot her, but she refuses. Meanwhile, Mary refuses to join the council and swears revenge on Kakegurui. Kakegurui then departs from the academy, leaving the rest of the council unsure how to deal with Yumeko, and letting the second years Kade, Menyuta, and Yumeme take advantage of the situation to increase their authority. As Itsuki, who is in danger of being disowned by her father after her loss to Yumeko, offers to become loyal to her should she defeat Kakegurui, become the president, and return her to her place on the council. A challenge letter from Yumeme arrives. As the head of PR and a Yortu Japanese idol, Yumeme bets Yumeko 50 million yen on the outcome of an on-stage idol championship competition, where should Yumeko lose, Yumeme will alter her life schedule to force her into an idol duel with her, losing any hopes she has of a social life or meaningful relationships, much like Yumeme's own life. However, Yumeko tricks Yumeme into admitting her real thoughts that her fans are all disgusting pigs on a recording device and adds it to the bet. If Yumeme loses, Yumeko will then release the tape and destroy her career along with her hopes of becoming a famous Hollywood actress.